This podcast could potentially have adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly the possibility of sexual content. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the literary briefs edition. I am your host, Erica Lance. Our sponsors today, as I look at my, I've drunk way too much already. Our sponsors today is Coffee Shop of Horrors and Skunk Brothers Spirits. So check them out. Coupon code DWA10. Okay, my amazing co-host today is the always brilliant Danielle Orsino.
Don't forget to like and subscribe because now you've been drinking, so leave us some feedback.
And yes, and our guest today is Davey.
Oh,
I got this. JV Hilliard, right?
Hey,
Yeah. Yay.
right here.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. I've been I've been double fisting it since the last episode. So in these cups is this one is Skunk Brothers Lightning, which is their moonshine and lemonade. And this is Devil's Bathtub gin and this lovely elderflower and rose lemonade, which, by the way, is very decadent. But I have bathtub gin, which I don't think a lot of people know used to literally be made in a bathtub. So that's the thing. Okay. Danielle, what are you drinking?
the goblet is back along with some barefoot. Watermelon
Moscato. Yes.
Yep, there we go. So barefoot call, please.
Yes. JV, what are you drinking?
I am drinking McLaughlin Distillery Sexy Mamacita Strawberry Peach Moonshine. The very manly Strawberry Peach Moonshine, by the way.
Very manly.
And I believe that brewery soon or distillery soon will be supplying us with wine and beer from your franchise.
If they know what's good for them.
I believe that point has been made abundantly clear to me.
Yes. I'm making it clear to our audience so when they're listening, they can find such things. So this is rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I am ready.
What is your favorite book of all time?
Well, that's a cheat, right? So I mean, it's more of a series. Lord of the Rings is my favorite series, but if I had to choose one book, it would be The Shining by Stephen King.
My favorite. I was like, is he gonna say the fucking Hobbit? Like, is that where he's going?
You know, it was a toss up. You know, like I really enjoy every Halloween. I reread Dracula from Bram Stoker because I'm a big fan of anything that has vampires in it. But Stephen
Twilight?
King's yes, I watched Twilight Vampire Academy. It's embarrassing. Like I'm doing it under the guise of research for my Great American Vampire novel that I'll write at the end of this, amazing author journey that I'm on. But I think that the Shining, those two little fucking girls in to this day that scares the shit out of me. I can't look at them, and they got googly eyes too. Those bitches. So I can't take that. So
they're just waiting to scare you.
Yeah, it scares me. So I try to reread that this time of year too, just because I like rereading things around certain holidays. So I'll say Stephen King's Shining.
Okay. What is your least favorite book of all time?
Least favorite book of all time. Great question. I've never been asked that before. So much for a speed round when you're stumped and you don't know what question to ask, but I will, or how to answer a question, I should say.
I'm asking the questions. You have to answer them. That's how
I know. I'm thinking.
rules.
That's hard. So I'd have to say I was a big fan of the Harry Potter series, but The Prisoner of Azkaban was a little disappointing for me. I know that might be I know people love that book.
Never read him.
Look, when I was growing up, that's what we read, right? So like, of course I'm going to like it and love it, and there's magic in it, and it's, and you're that age and you're just kind of pulled along with it and it's cool. but everybody was saying how great that book was, and I didn't get it. You know, I thought the movie was okay, like it played well and pulled the characters through to the next piece, but I would have to say Prisoner of Azkaban.
Well, I think I can agree with you being a huge and it J.K. Rowling aside, so I'm going to say that. Don't send me fucking hate mail because Harry Potter, the stories had a different like meaning for me. Like I really like them, but I can see why the Prisoner of Azkaban was a little going left. I love Sirius Black as a character. I think it was a very, and then of course Gary Oldman, like
Killed it. He did such a good job. I know.
just yeah. And then to Bram Stoker's Dracula. See how I can circle back to these
I like
things?
that.
Like,
Yep.
yeah,
You brought it right around,
yeah.
Erica. Nicely done.
But
Nicely done.
I get it. I get it. Okay, what is your favorite book that was made into a movie or a TV series where you think they did a really good job?
Um, I'll answer that two ways. I'm going to cheat here, but I think that the Hunger Games, which is a series of books that I didn't necessarily wouldn't rank them in my top 10 of series. I thought as movies went, they were pretty good. Now, there are obvious changes. It's a different medium, so I get that a lot where people, because I'm guilty of it every time I walk into a movie theater. When I've read a book in my head, it's perfectly played out because I read it and I made it up. So when you go in and see someone else's version of that on the screen, it oftentimes doesn't align with you. But that first Hunger Games movie, I could watch that every day of the week. I mean, it is really good. I thought Jennifer Lawrence did a great job. I thought everybody in that series did a great job. Donald Sutherland, playing Snow. And it stayed mostly true to the novels. So, it was close enough for me to kind of put that criticism away. And I think that's one that popped for me. And even though I'm not a dystopian guy, I've read enough dystopian to know that I think that was the best. If I had a favorite, it would be that. Now, the one that I'm going to throw back at you, and I know you ask all the questions here, you've made that abundantly clear, but I'm going to answer this anyway, is the one that they should make a series is Dragonlance. Margaret Weiss, I have no idea how, and I know Manganiello has been pushing for the show running for it. I mean, that has, with the CGI of today, I don't know how in God's name that is not a series with everybody being so obsessed with dragons in fantasy. That is the ultimate dragon fantasy. I mean, I don't know.
They did the cartoon of it. The problem, I think, and it's kind of, me and Danielle have talked about it, is, and I don't disagree. I hated playing Dragonlance, the D&D. I was not a fan of that or some of the other offshoots. I loved the series. I thought the series was completely brilliant.
Was great.
But I think what happens too is you can have too much. I know dragons are really popular, but like right now, Lord of the Rings is competing with House of Dragon, right? Because it's, and I think that it can be, there's a time for it, but the time needs to be when it's not competing with two other things at the same time. Like when these fitter out, which they will eventually, both of them, then it's the time to bring something like that on. And I don't disagree, but I think it has to be done as a show. But they tried to do the Sword of Truth series, and they didn't. You have to do it in a way that people who are not fans of the series can digest it, and they didn't do that. So it takes a bunch. I don't disagree with you. And then on the Hunger Games, I it's one of my favorites that was made, and it was my other co-host CR Rice said something that, like, I say to people, because it was probably the most brilliant thing when it came to books to movies, is treat them like fan fiction, because you're never going to get the whole story. You have to
that's
treat
a
it like
great
it's a fan
quote.
fiction version. And some fan fiction is amazing, and then other fan fiction makes you want to punch babies, which is my next question, which is, what is your least favorite adaptation you think they've done?
Oh, I know I'm going to get shit for this, but Sandman, the most recent one, just bad, right? Like
Really?
I didn't like it for a couple of reasons. One, I thought the casting was pretty good, right?
Okay.
But I got lost like after the scene with Lucifer. which I thought was a really cool. If there was a scene, if there was an episode, it's episode 4 that stuck out to me. I thought that was the coolest sort of like this mental battle that they had,
Oh,
which
I
must have
loved
been
that.
really difficult to do. And they made it. I'm like, all right, I believe this. And I thought it was cast well, but it was also kind of like it got like, okay, you're gonna really have a convention of serial killers and call it the serial convention, and then
That's in
like
the comics though.
I
I
know, but it's
love that.
just so
That was one of my favorite episodes
I
because
love
oh,
I
yeah.
and
love
then the
how
bunny, the cat episode at the end was just like, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching here? Like, where did the salmon like it just it didn't end right for me. I forced myself through it, but I told you I know I was gonna get shit for it. I know a lot of other people liked it. I found it
well, and
disappointing.
that's one where they stuck so true to the graphic novels the way they went.
Mm.
Because if you listen to the audio drama on Audible,
Mhm.
same thing. And my boyfriend, because I've read the comics, right? I've one of the hosts of this too is a huge fan of Sandman, J.M. Paquette.
Mhm.
And so I've read the comics. So I knew and I could follow along with the audio drama, right? Because they're like I knew in my head what was happening. But he was like, what the fuck is happening? And then it went to the cat episode and and he's like, I don't get it. I don't get what's happening. And it's because it's a comic and they literally, it's one of the first times I've ever seen them take exactly what was on the paper and put it into the show. Like exactly.
Yeah.
The comics were fine, and maybe it was the adaptation of a comic into something that shouldn't have been as long. Like
Yeah.
I honestly don't. I don't know what it is. Like I said before, I thought it was cast well. I thought it was written well, and there are scenes that you can't forget. Like when she goes to visit the baby, and you know the baby's going to die, and she walks out of the room. That's pretty fucking grim, right? Like that's
Yeah.
hardcore stuff that in most media that you don't see that kind of stuff.
They would. I thought it
You
was
know?
brave.
Yeah, I thought it was really and and so that I just found myself thinking, what am I like I just I
No,
didn't like I'm
I
sorry.
get it. And again, it was if you pick up the comic, the graphic novels, and you go through it, it's exactly like that. And it's one of the truer adaptations where they went, this is what's written, this is what's on the screen. Like they had some license with some of the characters, but a lot of the characters are exactly the way he describes them in the book, you know?
Yeah.
So
I just felt like I was watching 7 different series all in once. You know, like the first one was how he got caught, and then we're 100 years later, and then we're talking about this woman who has a baby while she was sleeping, and then we get this guy that he brought through that lived 500 years, and then you got this cartoon at the end, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I didn't feel like I was. Maybe they should have broken the. Or I mean, what do I say?
no,
I'm sure it's
I'll
very
tell you,
popular, but
if you read the graphic novels, it does that and it does that same thing. And that's part of what the weirdness of Sandman is. It's all over the place.
yeah.
Danielle, your question.
Okay, you have the chance to bump into one of these 3 creatures. Which one do you pick and why? Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or a UFO?
Loch Ness Monster, because of a couple of reasons. One, that would mean I'm in Scotland, which is pretty badass. So that would be great. Secondly, you know, the Bigfoot stuff, I think there are many big feet around the world, Yetis, wherever you want to see them, skunk apes and stuff like that. And I know that the concept of the Loch Ness Monster was one that is supposed to be this sturgeon that survived, and there's one potentially in Canada and some other places and things like that. But I think that if there was like a calling for me to go in, if you said you can investigate one cryptid creature, what trip do you want to take? I want to get on a boat in Scotland and go and look for it. Nothing against Bigfoot, nothing against a chupacabra, nothing against any of that stuff. That's
Don't worry,
right in my
you
wheelhouse.
passed the question because that's Danielle's required answer to that question.
Well, she's a smart and sage-like woman, and that's exactly why. You're welcome.
Okay. You can
Fantasy thing.
be
Yeah.
any main character from a book, but you have to live their life. Who are you?
Drizzt, you said it before. You know, what a cool ass character, right? Who's sort of at the end of the books has sort of ascended into this almost a godlike state. But like you also, he has a philosophy that's brought along, something that teaches you life lessons, things you're learning you don't even know that you learn. He has an arch enemy and Artemis and Triri, and there are others like Jarlaxle that kind of fade in and out and things. And of course, this massive underdark dark elven thing. And that series where he goes back in with the dwarves to fight the ascension, when the dark elves are coming up to fight Bruner's people, that is just tremendous. Like, you have this war, this underground war, and to be part of that. And I think there's some cool thing. There's the unrequited love, or the sort of this quasi love with Catti Bree and her reincarnate and all that kind of crazy stuff that's in there. But I think that there's a life philosophy that comes from those books that Salvatore has put into them, that if you said live a life of someone, who would it be? Even though it would be tough and brutal at times, he would be the guy that I would be.
Very cool. Who's your sidekick then?
My sidekick is Brunor, of course, right?
No,
You
you
know,
don't have to have that sidekick. You can pull a sidekick from anywhere.
Can I pull one from my own book? Doesn't
That's kinda
count, right?
cheating and Scrabble,
It is
right?
kind of cheating. Yeah, I think so. That's all I was asking. So if I had to pick someone to align with him, maybe Aragorn, two Rangers, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And here's like, he also has a background that's very similar to,
It's true, but talk about the two least humorous characters sitting together. They would just have long silences broken up by nothing.
but they were like dutiful people that were introspective, that is like character rich people that you take stuff from, both of them
I'm not saying they're
outcasts.
not. I'm just saying that the humorous around the campfire tales, they be not.
Well, I tried. That's why I threw in Bruner. I was going to pick Blue Connie for everybody, but no, I wasn't allowed to pick my own guy. And Blue
Okay, I like
which
how
is-
you just threw that out there so the fans can be mad at me. Whatever.
yeah,
Whatever.
poking. That's what
Poke
and that's
bear.
what you would do. Yeah. So, but I wasn't allowed. You put me on the sideline for
Listen,
that.
we have rules. We don't have any rules, but if we did,
But if
hypothetically,
we did, that would be a rule.
That would be a
kind of
rule.
a guideline that we
Fair enough.
maybe
Fair enough.
have.
Well, hey, look, I want Aragorn, so you're cool. And he has a
No,
cool
that's-
nickname, like Strider. How cool is that? They
No,
can talk about their cool nicknames.
I mean, it's cool. I'm just saying that I don't see them having like these depth. There's so much inner monologue in this particular grouping of people that it's epic. Okay, what is your favorite weird food combination?
Oh, you're gonna hate me for this.
I
But
doubt it. I've had some weird shit on the show.
I have two weird food combinations. I
Ooh.
take Eggo waffles and I put peanut butter and jelly on them. No syrup, no butter. And the reason I do that is when I was little, Mr. Rogers, I was watching a show and my mom was trying to convince me to eat waffles, and Mr. Rogers was eating waffles and he didn't put syrup on his, he put peanut butter on his. So that's how she got me to eat Eggos. And ever since then I eat Eggo waffles with peanut butter and jelly. And then my second one is cucumbers with ketchup. And before you gag yourself, try it. I'm telling you, it's better than you think. It happened accidentally. I'm one of these OCD kids. Nothing could touch each other, anything on the plate. And then the one day it did, and my grandfather wouldn't let me clean it off. He said, "You're going to eat everything on that plate." And I tried it, and I was like, "This is pretty good," And so I, every now and then, not all the time, and usually when I'm alone and not in front of other people, I'll drizzle some Heinz ketchup on there, and bam.
That's all
Cucumbers
you,
with
Erica.
Oh,
That's all you.
why does it always end up just being me? There has literally not been a weird food combination. Somebody has said that you go, "I'll try that, Danielle. I love you," but you never say that.
Because I'm smart. No, because I don't know how I got there. Because originally this was supposed to be you and Chelsea trying these, and all of a sudden it was like, "Okay, Danielle, you're in on this," and I was like,
Did you not read the co-host contract? There is a lot of
I didn't
asterisks
get
on
one.
that.
I did not get one.
Yeah, you
I
did.
don't remember.
Well,
Oh,
I
I
at least
don't.
faked your signature on one, so it's fine.
Oh.
It's the same thing. It works. It
It's
goes.
the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's a true thing. Okay, we have to wrap soon. So Danielle, I'm going to let you ask the final riveting question, which better be freaking riveting since you're not eating the cucumbers with the ketchup on it.
Okay, I got one. Is there a genre that you would like to try writing in besides fantasy? Dun.
Gothic horror. I will write a vampire novel one day. I don't know if it'll be under a pen name, something different, but you know, I already know what the novel is in my head, and it's great.
Sparkling
And
vampires?
no sparkling vampires,
Okay,
but
just checking.
I
I
was going to make a Twilight reference. I was like,
I
how
I
much
know.
glitter do they
Couldn't
wear?
resist it.
I literally and this is going to sound cowardly, but I chose not to write it first because I knew I needed to grow as an author before I wrote the Great American Vampire Novel, which is what I'm calling it because I don't know what else to fucking call it
I
at this
think you
point.
should go
But
with that title.
oh, you know how much shit I'd get for that title. So, but yeah, but
Who do
already
you
know
care? Like, why would you care if you got shit for that title?
I already know where it's going, and I've researched it. I know exactly how it's gonna end up, and I'm excited to write it one day, but I'm not there yet. It's gonna be
Well-
called Requiem of Sorrow. Is what will be the name of it, the first one at least.
Subtitle: The Great American Vampire.
Great American Vampire novel. Yes.
I think that's brilliant, and you don't need a pen name. The people that read your genre will be perfectly happy with that. If you started writing cozy mysteries, maybe
Actually,
your
your
fan
name
base
should
would
be
be like,
Edward Pattinson.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
come on, man,
That
come
should be your
on.
pen name.
I did
Edward
enough
Pattinson.
team Jacob and Team Edward at home. I don't need this shit. You know what I mean?
Edward
Like,
Pattinson.
you know, the best line in that
Edward
entire
J.
movie.
Pattinson.
Yeah, the best line in that entire series is when he walks up to the Team Jacob guy. Is like, "Why don't you have a shirt on?" You know, and it's like exactly. You know, like I know why you don't have a shirt on.
no,
Everyone
the
in
best
house
line in that movie
is cheering because he doesn't
when
have a
they're
shirt on,
in the
except for
tent.
me.
The best line in that movie is
Hey.
when they're in the tent and he goes, "Because I'm hotter than you." That is the best line in that fucking movie.
Believe me, I am surrounded by Team Jacob all up in this bitch, and I'm telling you, I don't,
I'm Team Charlie because I
Yeah.
think Charlie was the best character in all of those movies.
So my wife liked Kellen Lutz the best. I forget the name of his. I think his name was Emmett. He was one of the vampires in the Cullen family. So
No,
she
Edward.
thought he was.
That's
Jay
Emmett.
Pattinson.
Jasper was pretty cool. Okay,
Yeah.
shameless
All right.
self-promotion time.
I can be found pretty easily at jvhilliard.com. You can also find me at jvhilliard books at many social media channels, including my Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. JV Hilliard, just JV Hilliard for Discord and Facebook. And my books can be found pretty much in any distribution channels, starting at Amazon and ending at dragonmoonpress.com.
Very, very cool. And soon to be Edward Pattinson, greatest vampire novel ever made. Got it.
Oh,
Thank you for being on this show with us. I know you're regretting it now, but
you can't regret anything with pink moonshine. I mean, I don't know, like that automatically.
I'm
Yeah.
aware. I'm aware.
And there's more to come from him. I have a just this little hunch that there'll be a lot more coming from him soon.
Oh, I can't wait. We will definitely have you back on this show.
Well,
Guys,
thank you very
this has
much.
been Drinking with Authors, your literary briefs edition. I have been your host, Erica Lance. My co-host has been the amazing Danielle Orsino.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a little bit of feedback, please.
Yes, we'd love to hear what you think of JV's new pen name. And we will see you guys next time.